Sahana vavatu Sahana bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai Shanti Shanti Shanti. Jema, I wish to share with you something. When my earliest memories of myself as a child are of being a quiet child. I had very few words to offer. And I did not know I'm quiet. That was just who I was. And I remember that when all the children would play, especially in summer when it was very hot, so our mother waited till the sun set and it was cooler and we would be allowed to run out and play. And we would all streak out of our homes and meet in each other's courtyards or terrace or in the street where the cars had to wait for us while we played our games. And we would play very, vigorous games with balls and all kinds of homemade equipments, or catch each other, or play tag, and what is it? Blind seek and hide and seek. Been a long time since I played that. I used to play that. I used to play a lot, but I would be quiet throughout the playing. And there were some very vociferous, voluminous leaders of our games who would decide which team I got to be in, and I never got to decide that. Somebody loud would choose where I was going to be, or other things like that. So there was a lot of sound around me among other children. The elders were also talking. There was also satsang going on. So there was some beautiful chanting and talking. There was also, household voices that were going on all day from morning to night. And then there were my peers, those children, my cousins in a joint family. And then there was the sounds of the cows in the house. So there was just a lot of sound. And I didn't find like I was in some kind of competition with it. I just knew who I am and I was a silent person. However, when I was in school, being a silent person, I observed, and this was around 7th, 8th grade, I observed that the girls who spoke up were the teachers' pets. The girls who spoke up got to dust the board. The girls who spoke up got to be the team leaders. And gradually, slowly, I remember trying to speak up, and then my heart would beat, And then something happened. I lost my faculty of silence, my natural silence, and I became a talker. Not necessarily an over-talker. I was never garrulous or talkative as such. I always had interesting things to say, good things to say. But after a while, I lost the value of what I had been born with. Was this deep ability to be silent. When I was silent, even as a little child, I remember, I would observe many things. While all the children were talking, playing, transacting, making deals, fighting, making up, I would be lying looking at the clouds and wondering about them. I remember seeing an ant struggle in just a couple of, maybe a teaspoon of water. and there was an ant struggling, half drowning. And I remember I had not even started kindergarten at that time. And I remember having this concept of existential pain for her in my silence and thinking, well, it feels like it's just a dollop of water, but for her, this is her samsara, because I had heard Baba talk. This is her samsara, and she's drowning in it, and maybe I should be Lord Vishnu and save her. And so I, put my little finger there and said, come on, little one, your time has not come. Well, if he says so. And she climbed my little hand, and then I put my finger for a long time on a leaf so that she could dry out and climb down. So that was a very successful spiritual adventure, but I didn't know those words. All I knew was that in my silence, I was looking at the little ant that was drowning in a dollop of water, and knowing that she had every right to claim her health and well-being, and I could help her. I could look at the seva that was being done in my home and smell the herbs and look at the people and understand those transactions, hear those mantras and be with it. But then gradually, as I started being more outward with my faculty of speech, the learning and the observing stopped, and the commentating and having an opinion began. So fortunately for me, my basic nature is of being a contemplative person. I'm fortunate for that. So I never completely lost it, but I know that difference because now I have returned to what is my swabhava, or my original nature, or what is my prakriti, what is my basic nature. And I'm not talking just about my Ayurvedic constitution, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, but my Mahaprakriti, as in my spiritual nature, closer and closer to it. And once again, the learning, the observation, the understanding, the shifting of contents internally so that I can see results change outside has begun. So I just wanted to share with you in a most loving way what is the difference between the faculty of speech and the faculty of silence. Now, if I may ask you to close your eyes, and I will ask you a couple of questions. Try to speak, but then don't speak. Okay? What is your name? Do you know who you are? Man or woman? Are you a student at Vedika, or are you thinking about it? Do you know how to spell Ayurveda? Open your eyes, please. Some of you may have felt some energy here to almost speak but not speak. Any hands? Yes? Here. Okay. Now, I will ask you some questions. Think you will speak, but make a decision here, saying, I am not speaking. Close your eyes. How are you? What is your name? Do you even know your name? Who gave you your name? Do you like your name? Does this name describe you? Interesting. Do you want to tell me more about it? Okay, silent ones, open your eyes. How many of you felt an energy shift with a simple decision, watching your faculty of speech and thinking, I don't need to speak? How many of you? Hands up. Wonderful. So there is indeed a faculty of speech which is more connected with our throat chakra, our fifth chakra, and there is a faculty of silence which is a higher chakra, the Ajna chakra. So the decision to be a silent one does not happen here by mechanically closing the trap and saying to yourself, I will be silent, I will be silent. That becomes rather a loud speech. It happens here. Can I hear a yes if you got experiential?
Yes.
So, now why don't you close your eyes? Be in your Ajna chakra, in your higher authority center. The chakra is nothing but your own mind. Your mind is telling the rest of your mind. Your higher mind is talking to your lower mind and saying to it, we are going to now be silent in the satsang, and we are going to be silent with speech, so the speech faculty is no longer struggling. We are also going to be silent through our mind. Thoughts are coming, I am silent. Thoughts are going, I am silent. And now in this silence, I am going to receive my teacher's words. Now you may open your eyes. In silence, what happens is that the mind's default nature, it is known as it is a vritti, it is a tendency, and it is, bahaya vritti, it is going outwards. All the five senses are somehow created in such a way in Maya that they all look outwards, and a very dominant sense, Indriya, is the speech, and when it becomes active, what happens is that the entire system becomes very active. And when we are speaking, when we are opinionating, when we are talking, when we are vibrating the words, we may need to go about and navigate on this Bhuloka earth. That is, it is not illegitimate to talk, but I do want you to know that learning only takes place when the faculty of silence has been activated within. How many times when I had lost my own way, my students, I don't teach you from some pulpit because I would become very lonely up there. I would rather teach you from the church of my own experience, from the temple of my own life. When I lost my way, I thought I could navigate it by logic, verbalizing my arguments, justifying with well-chosen words why, what I deserved and what I didn't deserve. But I hit a wall. But fortunately, satsangas that you have done shravanam to from birth never go away a waste. Any shastra-based knowledge you are listening to is coming as a seed in you through your ear, and it is lying there, and at a fortune and right time it will suddenly take seed and it will support you. And I remember that exact moment many years ago when some disturbing fact came into my cognition. It's no drama. Most of us are disturbed 10 times a day, and it was relatively disturbing news, and I was about to say something about it, and I remember hearing from within my own teacher's injunction that when really faced with the urge to express something, why not choose silence and process that situation. And I literally caught myself. And I remember that was a paradigm shifting moment for me. And now onwards, I always know that I would like to start my faculty of silence to face both good and bad situations so that they do not distract me. Sukha, it takes us into mada or intoxication, and dukkha takes us into the intoxication or victimization and depression. Do you agree? Both of them can destabilize us. But silence can allow us to see, that's interesting. And we can work within the peaceful temple of our inner being and sort things out and then come back and be in the world with a clarity. I can give you common examples. In Vedanta, we give common examples. Have you seen that when somebody is giving the news of a tremendous tragedy, like the unexpected demise of a loved one, for that moment, the way they cope with it is by falling silent, even closing their eyes. Sometimes they even do this. Have you seen that? What is it? It is a pulling in of all the senses, and that's how they are able to not die with that news. Because the moment they close everything, there is a potential to touch a nectar of supreme peace and okayness inside. Similarly, when a mother who has been waiting for her baby for 9 months first sees the face of the baby, and I can vouch to it. I looked at my son, but before I barely looked at him and I wanted to close my eyes. Because the way, and I was speechless. I had thought that I would say this and say that. And I had even, thought of the perfect first words, but my first words for Dhruva were silence. So in peak of happiness and peak of sorrow, your automatic behavior is silence. Do you agree? Yes? It is inbuilt in us that in these peaks, because we cannot withstand them, let us touch the faculty of silence so that everything can become rebooted again within us and we can move on. So sadhana or spiritual work, and I believe that education in Ayurveda, Yoga and Vedanta cannot really be accomplished honestly without sadhana. After all, they are spiritual divine sciences. They are revelations. Oh, and if somebody watches this video, they can always say, what revelation? But what is it? Even when the apple fell, it was a revelation. The law of gravity was a revelation, isn't it? It is suddenly an aha moment. It's a revelation. It is not that the aha moment or the eureka moment was arrived at after a 5-day algorithm, contest. It was an aha moment. It is a revelation from the Akasha that this is how things are. And this is how things are in the human body, in the human mind, and the realm of the existential spiritual source, the soul, and thus declares the science of Ayurveda. So it is a revealed science by minds that were not caught up in the everyday paradigm of cause and effect. These rishis and their consciousness had gone beyond the three-dimensional reality, the vyavharika reality. It had touched paramarthika reality, the absolute reality. And only there these sciences have been revealed. And that is why for thousands of years they have followers all over the world. They may not have big government or institutional money behind them, but they have the people's will. That is why Ayurveda is spreading over 200 countries. Governments are approaching the Indian government to work with them for Ayurveda. Who told them to do that? The people of those countries. And who convinced those people? Some billboards, some posters, some, advertising, commercials? No. Slow and steady benefit from what is the truth of truth, satyasya satya. So this knowledge, to study it, we need to do sadhana, and the sadhana is of our quiet attention. To what? To inside us. If we are only caught up in talking, then the moment we get up, we are talking. In dream, we are talking. We get up, we are talking. We are chatting, we are emailing, we are talking. We are talking to our friends, we are talking to our pets, we are talking. We are caught up, we are running, we are doing our errands. The average person is caught up. What does sadhana mean? Oh yes, 6 to 9 sadhana at Vedika. But sadhana really is when we dare to become quiet, and the one who dares to fall silent has to deal with their inner loneliness. They have to deal with their inner non-accomplishments. They have to deal with their inner demons, as in, the recognition of where they are sabotaging their own life. But unless we hit that place, unless we wade through that water, we really won't reach the clear water. So when I look at my students, I start paying attention to the ones who have begun to go in. For example, not to say that I don't pay attention to the ones who are still talking, because I am a teacher and I have to rope in everyone sooner or later and keep gently sharing with them why. If you are silent in your home, if you are silent in the middle of a battle, if you are silent trying to prove a point, if you are silent trying to counteract thought after thought in yourself, and you say, you're engaged in an inner thought pattern and you say, I think I'm just going to fall silent. You benefit. And the teacher benefits when you benefit. That's all. So, this silence allows you to now deal with your own self. And unless a future Vaidya is dealing with their own selves again and again, no matter how accomplished they get, how much education they get here or in India or in another wonderful college all over the world, they will still be their scared self meeting the patient. They will still be their pompous self meeting the patient. If they are scared and timid, they will not be helping the patient. Their potential would remain locked. And if they are pompous and arrogant and argumentative and difficult to give feedback and critique, then such a person would get sued or be not wanted. You agree? So this person will say, I should take some classes on how to be a successful Vaidya. And somebody may even give it with bullet points and PowerPoint and everything. And they talked and talked till the cows came home. In fact, they talked and talked about what's right and what's wrong, and the eager person also talked and talked and talked. But through all of this scenario, they never really felt quiet, felt silent, and looked at maybe they are like this because of something else that was waiting to show itself when you were silent. Maybe the inner peace had to reveal itself when you gave it some space. And you didn't give it some space once a week, but you gave it space every day for a little bit of time, or all the time. And then your speech started coming from a space of stillness. Your speech now starts having an impact. Otherwise, those who have been talking all day, for addressing all kinds of things and turning around and talking just because there is somebody to talk to. They talk in the bath, they talk in the road, they talk in the shop, they talk in the classroom, they talk on the stairs, they talk in the lobby, they talk on the way in the phone. That shows that there is a lot of fear to fall silent. But this silence is not the angry silence. This silence is not the silence that seeds with resentment. The faculty of silence is in the Ajna Chakra. If it's a controlling silence, it is coming from here. But if it is a genuine observer mode, then it's like moonlight. Nobody will ever say to you, "You are being cold to me." In fact, they will feel heard. People will feel seen by you. People will feel nurtured by you. Animals will come to you. Patients will get better by your voice. So it is a sadhana of silence. It is not merely a cold, I will not talk. Because if somebody is saying, "Please dear friend, give me your opinion if I should have short hair or long hair." This is the way samsara is, You took birth as the great Atman, you came here and the next Atman says, "Should I have long hair, short hair?" It's okay. If this is a very valuable piece of information for the person, you don't have to lecture them on the value of silence. You just have to tell them truly from your heart whatever you believe, long hair or short hair. Or you can say, "You look great anyway." Whatever is your truth, you can tell them. And of course, I would like to give a satsang one day on the type of words we should use. But they should be sweet. Not artificially sweet, but they will come sweetened because they are coming from a place of truth in a nice way. And the truth doesn't include just the new concept of my truth. This my truth nowadays is like Swiss knife. My truth. Well, I'm just telling you my truth. And it cuts the other person apart, leads you to a divorce or separation or breakup of LLC and partnership and corporation. Well, I was just telling my truth. Well, there can't be my truth and your truth. In truth, there is space for everyone. If it is truth, it's a win-win. Otherwise, it is only your ego saying my truth. So, if your words are coming from truth about hair or life or situation, you will not just withdraw speech and leave your friend or relative or somebody breathing because you are learning about silence. Your speech would be absolutely a gift as and when needed. But gifts are not just tossed away in the samsara like that. They are given carefully. And let people value your gift. There are many people who wait weeks, months to meet with me. And then when they meet with me, their desire to talk is so strong that all I can do is listen. So they come to meet me only to talk. And then they go away wondering why they feel good, but they still didn't really get what they wanted, which was some suggestion. So sometimes we just become compulsive. We hear our voice, we talk about X version versus Y version versus Z version. Then we talk about all the scenarios. Then we interchange them. Then we up and down them. Isn't that what our life is about? We could do that even to the topic of the haircut. So, great saints gradually activate the faculty of silence very, very famous one for that is Ramana Maharshi. He never said, I will not talk. That also sounds a little bit, people can do that, I will not talk, or I will not use my voice. And they do it, and it's a siddhi for them then. But he never had to say that. He would say what he needs to say, but people heard the booming silence along with those words. And that silence was coming from his ajna. Ajna is where there is famous. And most changes in our life, if whether we are changing, if we are truly changing our career, if we want to bring changes in our own behavior, if we really want to memorize something, you can talk, right? You can. Have you seen that parroting? Have you ever parroted something like memorized by parroting? But when you become fully silent and you deeply read that piece of paper, tell me which learning is deeper, when you are silent or when you are speaking? Silent. Because in silence, all your senses, instead of being closed lotuses, become full lotuses to learn. Learning takes place in silence. Silence has to be understood. Silence and its value add. Continue to talk about it and keep talking about it. I will continue to talk about silence. But have I role modeled some silence to you? Yes or no? That is more important. But I have always spoken where you wanted me to speak? Yes or no? Yes. So there is no artificial box. I will not speak. Zip. Look at me, I am silent. 5 days in a row. These are gymnastics. You have the faculty of speech. Use it with respect. Use your faculty of silence. Turn it on. Because that is a lesser known faculty. That is actually almost an unknown faculty for a long time. But it is a faculty that we often see in children until they start discovering the joy of speech, and then they need to do that. But when I'm talking about children, when they are unaware of social niceties, they can be silent when they want to be. That's what I'm talking about. But we adults, we feel like we have to make conversation. And then in that conversation, we may make conversations that lead to alienation, that may lead us into other kinds of traps where we didn't mean what we wanted to say, or we want to extricate something, or they are loaded with our emotion because we needed some silent time to process our emotion first and say something, but instead what we said was just coming unfiltered without any silent srota in between. So if the speech arises and doesn't just directly come forward, when I'm talking about speech, if you're thirsty, you have to say, can I have a glass of water? Please understand, I'm not auditing how much you talk. I'm auditing about why we talk, when we talk, and do we activate and understand the hidden faculty of silence or not. So this Bahaya Mukhi Vritti, this outward tendency, will gradually become Antaramukhi, inward tendency. This is not just extroverted versus introverted, because somebody might say, Shunyaji, I'm already shy and introverted, I need to talk more, which was my teenage decision. That's not what I mean. What I mean to say is that introverted people are very noisy inside. There are two kinds of speeches, gross speech and subtle speech. Faculty of silence calms both of them. If you are very loud at the subtle level, offer the faculty of speech to that, faculty of silence to that. If you are very loud at the gross level through the mouth, start with that. I had to start with this, and then it led to quietening of this, then quietening of this leads to quietening of this. So it's interconnected. I yesterday itself mentioned to some students how mind is Atendriya, it is the master of the senses, and it is intimately connected to the senses, and the senses are like the door to the mind. And so you calm one, the other gets calmed as a result. And this silence is so deeply my companion now, that I remember very long ago feeling afraid to be alone. I was also 20, so that's, I suppose, normal behavior at that time. But in the course of my practice and counseling, I have met 40-year-olds who are afraid to be alone. I have met 60-year-olds who are afraid to be alone. We make compromised relationships and arrangements and life decisions based upon our desire to have someone to talk to. And who I discovered in my sadhana of silence, Shanti, peace to this, was a great friend in me, my own higher self. I have me, and I found me in quiet time that I spent with myself. Even reading a book is not quiet time. When I was listening to Baba, I was listening to Baba, but I still needed my quiet time. When I'm listening to my teacher, my quiet time allows me to listen better to that teacher, definitely, but I still need to take that listening and hold it in a womb of stillness within me. And that stillness comes with gradual practice, because as I was mentioning earlier in another classroom, that we create grooves of habits and then we behave just through sheer momentum. We think, oh, look at me, this is my personality, how original I am. Oh no, it's just our old habits that have become our character, and we are just playing out some shadow figure. I am exactly what my habits were 10 minutes ago, and that is the net result of who I am this moment. So unless I make a conscious effort to carve another groove, the river won't flow to that area. It won't. It also allows you to feel more independent, because we keep saying go inside, go inside, go inside. And I've often joked about it. What do you find inside? Some amla-pitta, acidity, and some negative thoughts, and some, maybe some natural vegas, urges. What do you look for? Well, if we are in a constant sound in, sound out mode, the inner paradigm will not reveal itself. The inner paradigm will also not self-reveal. Just silence alone may or may not reveal it. Silence may reveal it if in past life perhaps, or in some lifetime, you have had vidhivat, proper training in the knowledge contained in the Shastra by a teacher, Guru Mukha. Just sitting silent keeps you out of trouble. But if you have the fortune of learning Ayurveda Yoga Vedanta and you create silence around this, then we are cooking something different. Are you understanding? Plain silence that Lord Buddha entered and came out with what? The truth for himself and the world. So many people think I will sit down in meditation. They come out after 30 days with bed sores. And literally I witnessed somebody who had gone into a chamber, underground chamber, to meditate and do some pranayama yoga. Dr. Yola may be aware of it, many people do those kind of yogic feats, and he was going to be alone by himself in solitude. But fortunately, where I come from is a very religious town and people do all these things all the time. But the moment this person came out, couldn't stop talking. Had to make up for 30 days. So, silence alone, like I said, keeps you out of trouble. Definitely that silence has some merit. Even in the Western world, we say that if speech is silver, silence is golden. Silence buys you time to evaluate your strategies, gives you ability to process more, etc., etc. But I am talking about knowing where the silence resides in your higher mind, knowing that this silence is what you bring to your learning process, to your mananam, to your contemplation. And you bring to you, because you have the work of examining your own mind. You have to do it. You have to look at your own limitations, and then slowly your possibilities start revealing itself. No, I have a teacher. I go to my teacher. My teacher reminds me every 15 days I am a powerful being. I feel powerful for 5 days. Then I go back and get powerful again. Sometimes we even go for a retreat. We come back very powerful. It is true, my dears. I have also gone through this. However, why depend on something external? Actually, even Guru is not required. We make a big deal out of Guru. I will tell you, Guru is required that they connect you to your inner faculty because you don't know about it. So we can't dismiss because because this is all knowledge that is passed on. So where will you get it? You don't get it in the bestseller. So you need a teacher who is invested in you to tell you, to remind you, to role model to you. However, this responsibility of the teacher ends there. And responsibility and opportunity for us begins when we start exploring this. And so, for example, even when we are taking a walk and we are just using the walk to constantly be busy in the mind or on the phone, but maybe we stop the phone but we are busy in the mind and we are not present, with what is. That time we should take a moment and activate our faculty of silence. It lives within each one of us. And gradually the Guru becomes our colleague. How did the Guru know all this? Shastra plus silence. So, silence is the first stage of Gurukul education, and it is a gift that you can give to each other. And for example, you may go to a party. Those people don't even know how to pronounce Ayurveda. So why should they even bother about your mystical faculty of silence? So don't spend your vocal cords explaining them, or glaring at them and judging them and making your inner thoughts very busy. Enjoy the party. Have the chit chat that it requires. Don't say, I'm a spiritual sadhak, so I don't go to parties and I don't chit chat. That sounds a little bit artificial. First of all, you will evaluate if the party is worthy, company is worthy of your royal self. Then you will go and you will, choose foods appropriately, perhaps not dip into the cheese dip. Just little reminders. And then you will talk if people talk to you. But you may not feel the compulsion to be the joker of the party. You may not feel the need to talk. You might just have a really good conversation that feels just right, and you won't feel depleted on the drive home. You will actually feel Om driving back, Om driving in, Om sitting there. So there is a well-being that will emerge from the constant going back and forth between faculty of silence and faculty of speech. But if we don't know about this faculty, if we don't choose to activate it, if we don't explore it when we are at home and in private to feel comfortable with it, if we don't know what it feels like, then we'll feel like, oh, we're just being a dull blob. Say something, say something. I've seen films in which the nerd will go and the nerd doesn't know what conversation to make. So they will make some conversation, right? And then I will see that what's the opposite of nerd? The
Cool kid.
The cool kid will go and they won't also know what to say. So they'll just say so much that they'll also be funny. They'll also be funny. They're both funny. Because they are both, one is afraid to speak and one should be afraid to speak but one speaks. So they are both ridiculous to the discriminating audience. Even those films are giving a wonderful message of being yourself. Isn't it so? Most high school films ultimately teach you how to be yourself. So they're very beautiful, they're very Vedantic to me. Be yourself, be yourself, be yourself. In a very sweet way. So I really like it. Don't hide, don't use silence to hide, and don't use speech to hide. Be yourself and use both your God-given faculties with respect and dharma and universal compassion. So with this I will end, but I'm happy to ask you questions or take your comments on this. And shall we do this? Shall we close our eyes? And I'll chant something, you just listen. It will help activate your faculty of silence. And then let's just be still for a little bit. Tat Savitur Varenyam Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Peace, peace, peace. Silence is peace. No effort. Your spiritual faculty. Your own nature. Stay in your sixth chakra. Keep breathing calmly. Silence. Inner silence. Experience a light emanating on your third eye, your entire body, especially silver light touching your own tongue, mouth, vocal cords, calming everything, sweetening everything. Silence is like food to your speech. It will beautify your speech, make it powerful and dharmic. Experience a lightness in the body, that is okay. Silence makes you lighter, relax. Sweet silence. The whole body is resting now. Vata dosha is calming down. I will sing the chant again and we will close the meditation. With each sound, move up. Satyam Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yana Shanti, Shanti, Om, peace, peace, peace. When you are ready, you may open your eyes. Yeah.